This is a Little Bird. It is the lightest military helicopter in the world, and the most frequently used helicopter by us Special Forces. The Little Bird has a unique teardrop-shaped fuselage, excellent cockpit visibility, and great crash resistance. Thanks to its compact size and agile maneuverability, the Little Bird can dart and weave through tight spaces to complete tasks other helicopters can't. The first Little Bird entered US military service in 1966 and was widely deployed in the Vietnam War. After years of development, many different variants of the Little Bird were created, including the MH-6 for reconnaissance missions, which was the original version of the Little Bird. All other models are modifications of this version. It served not only in the US military, but also gained international presence. Thanks to its performance, it was sold to dozens of countries and regions. The MH-6 has an empty weight of 557 kilograms and a max takeoff weight of about 12 tons. Compared to its big brothers, it's truly a tiny sparrow, but don't be fooled by its petite appearance. The Little Bird is also known as a deadly killer. The US Army modified the MH-6 into the MH-6, the armed version of the Little Bird. It could be fitted with twin 127mm machine guns, Hellfire missiles, and Hydra rockets. Its firepower is not to be underestimated. In addition, there's the MH-6 variant for Special Forces. It features benches on both sides of the fuselage, each carrying up to 3 soldiers. It allows Special Forces to be inserted or extracted quickly and precisely. Its black color is perfect for night operations. Beyond military uses, the Little Bird is also popular in civilian sectors. Its civilian version, the MD-500, is favored by law enforcement around the world. In the 1980s, North Korea secretly bought 87 MD-500s through a West German export company. These helicopters are still in service in the North Korean Air Force today. So what makes the Little Bird so appealing? Why is it the gold standard of light helicopters, still carrying missions over 50 years later? Welcome to Chris Military Base. The compact but complete Little Bird helicopter. The first large-scale deployment of helicopters goes back to the Korean War. At that time, Korea had minimal infrastructure. Roads were nearly non-existent, and there was no railway system. Transporting heavy equipment and military supplies was difficult. Supplying front lines became a major logistical challenge. The U.S. military needed a new transport solution. Army commanders started testing helicopters to deliver supplies. The Bell H-13 and Sikorsky H-19 were used. Korea's rugged terrain made helicopters shine. This new type of vehicle could do what ground forces could not: transporting troops, delivering supplies, medevac reconnaissance, and even providing air support. Helicopters showed limitless possibilities. During those 3 years of war, the US military honed helicopter tactics. They believed that in future battlefields, this new vehicle would be essential and play a major role. In 1960, drawing from Korean War experience, the U.S. Army issued a technical standard for a light observation helicopter low. The helicopter was required to perform multiple battlefield missions, including troop transport, escort, medevac, reconnaissance, and attack roles. Dozens of companies competed for the bid, and the US Army eventually funded 3 prototype designs submitted by Bell, Hughes, and Fairchild-Hiller. Hughes 06 featured several innovations, with unique design elements in both rotor and fuselage. It was easy to operate and cost-effective, each airframe priced at only $19,000. It ultimately beat out the competition and won the contract. The first Little Bird was the MH-6 Scout helicopter. Its compact body had a four-bladed rotor, powered by an easily maintained Allison turboshaft engine. It cruised at 240 km/h, about 150 miles per hour, Its small frame made it highly maneuverable, allowing faster entry and exit from hot zones, and reducing the chance of being shot down, even in a crash. Its excellent design offered great protection to the crew. This was largely thanks to the frame behind the seats, which absorbed impact forces and prevented cockpit collapse. Agile and crash-resistant, the little bird had impressive survivability. In fact, during crash incidents, it was one of the helicopters with the highest survival rate. The U.S. Army was very satisfied with the MH-6, immediately placing an order for 1,434 units. A new war was underway. The jungles of Vietnam needed it. In December 1967, the first MH-6 arrived in South Vietnam. Its simple design made it easier to maintain than most other helicopters. Its compact rotor system enabled takeoff and landing in tight spaces. Missions were mostly conducted in daylight, primarily for reconnaissance roles. It scouted Viet Cong positions, and in most missions, it operated with the AL-1 Cobra attack helicopter in tandem. The MH-6 would scout and draw enemy fire, while the Cobra delivered the kill shot. July 1970, Southern Vietnam. An MH-6 and two AL-1S launched from US base. Their mission reconned the Ho Chi Minh Trail for Viet Cong supply troops. The trail was North Vietnam's main supply artery. Starting from the north, it stretched into southern Vietnam. The main line alone spanned 2,700 kilometers, and with all its branches, the network totaled over 20,000 kilometers. This web of roads was the lifeblood of the Viet Cong. Almost every combat aircraft in the Vietnam War was used to strike the Ho Chi Minh Trail, including the Little Bird. In this mission, they scouted the Tiger Mountains. The MH-6 flew low up front, while the two Cobras provided high cover. They guided the MH-6 forward. In this three-helicopter formation, the MH-6 was baked, completely unarmed. It only carried smoke grenades to mark enemy positions. When fired upon, it dropped smoke to signal enemy fire. Then the Cobras would strike immediately, saturating the smoke-marked area. For the Little Bird, it was essentially a suicide aircraft. Every flight faced the risk of being shot down. Only the bravest and most passionate pilots would dare to fly the Little Bird. This mission was no exception. 45. The Little Bird was piloted by Romero, a 20-year-old rookie. As they approached the valley, the Little Bird descended for low-altitude recon. They spotted a Viet Cong encampment. Everything was going according to plan. Suddenly, intense ground fire erupted at the Little Bird. The volume of fire was unexpectedly fierce. Before it could warn its support, the aircraft was hit. Fortunately, its sturdy frame absorbed the impact. Upon crashing, its landing gear and rotor blades were torn off. The tail boom detached, and the airframe rolled into a ball. As long as seatbelts were fastened, survival was still possible. The crew survived the crash. But the danger was not over. The Viet Cong knew a bird had gone down. They would surely send troops to investigate the wreckage. Enemy forces could arrive at any moment. Time was running out. The crash site was almost completely hidden by jungle canopy. It was nearly impossible to spot from above. To help friendly forces locate them, the pilot deployed a red smoke grenade. Now, they could only wait silently. The valley was eerily quiet, but likely surrounded by Viet Cong. At that critical moment, Cobra gunships swooped in. Rockets screamed through the sky, raining destruction on the enemy positions. Then a one Huey dove down and swiftly extracted the crew. They narrowly escaped death. Once clear of the area, the Cobra destroyed the wrecked Little Bird to prevent it from falling into enemy hands. Early in the war, the Little Bird-Cobra combo proved very effective. They hunted efficiently through the dense jungle terrain. But as time passed, The Viet Cong adapted to us tactics. They no longer fired at lone little birds easily. Mauvais, Soviet supplied, mon pas shoulder fire de missile. Could down a little bird with a single shot. Pilots had no time to react. Throughout the Vietnam War, over 1,400 little birds were deployed. Of these, 842 were shot down. More than 50 of the pilots experienced a crash at some point in their service. But thanks to the aircraft's resilience and rapid rescue response, most pilots were successfully saved. Despite the high loss rate, the little bird's role in the Vietnam War remained irreplaceable. Its impact was undeniable. In 1972, the US modified two little birds to drastically reduce their acoustic signature. They also reduced airframe vibration significantly. These modified little birds were handed over to the CIA. They were used to deploy listening devices in North Vietnam, as well as to covertly insert and extract CIA agents and Green Berets. But the little bird's capabilities didn't stop there. Over time, it continued to evolve. November 1979, Tehran. Iranian militants stormed the US embassy in Tehran. They took 52 American diplomats hostage. As bargaining chips, negotiations failed. 6 months later, the US attempted a secret rescue operation, the now infamous Operation Eagle Claw. The result is well known: a total and humiliating failure. The helicopters used, RH-53D Sea Stallions, were unsuited for desert conditions. Pilots lacked desert flying experience. During refueling, one helicopter collided with a C-130. No hostages were rescued, and to make matters worse, 8 US servicemen died in the accident. The mission was aborted in haste. A cache of equipment was left behind, including 4 Sea Stallions, 3 of which are still in service with the Iranian Navy as minesweepers. To this day, the failure was a heavy blow to US military confidence. They realized their troops and equipment were outdated. The aircraft were inadequate. Personnel lacked specialized training. Something had to change. On the equipment side, the incident spurred the development of a new aircraft. The goal was to combine the C-130's range and payload capacity with vertical takeoff and landing VTOL for carrier operations. The result was the V-22 Osprey Tiltrotor, a revolutionary hybrid aircraft. On the personnel side, a new unit was established, the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment, nicknamed the Night Stalkers. This elite unit gathered the Army's most skilled helicopter pilots. They specialized in infiltration, assault, and hostage rescue missions using helicopters. They needed an agile, stealthy, and durable aircraft. The Little Bird was the ideal choice, so the Army modified the MH-6 to create a specialized version for the 160th SOAR. The new Little Bird received upgraded engines, an increased number of rotor blades, for better stability, maneuverability, and lift. The tail boom was lengthened for balance. It was also fitted with advanced avionics and night vision systems. This new version was designated MH-6, and soon it got its first real-world deployment. In 1993, Somalia was overrun by warlords. The country had plunged into a brutal civil war. Famine claimed 750,000 lives. Another 15 million were displaced. Unfood aid never reached those in need. Instead, it was seized by warlords, who sold it for drugs and weapons, further destabilizing the country. Mogadishu became the epicenter of conflict. The top Somali warlord violated a ceasefire and launched attacks on peacekeeping forces. In response, the US deployed an elite task force of 400 Rangers. Their mission: capture those responsible. The operation began on October 3rd. 4 Little Birds, accompanied by 2 Black Hawks, formed an aerial assault team with Delta Force on board. Their goal was to insert these elite troops quickly and precisely into target zones. Delta Force was tasked with capturing high-value targets, while a backup team of 4 Black Hawks carried Rangers to secure the perimeter. Following closely behind them were 4 Black Hawks loaded with Rangers and supported by ground forces. Their mission: secure all 4 corners of the target building and block Somali reinforcements. In the chaos of urban combat, the little bird's advantages truly shined. It could fly low and infiltrate swiftly, undetected by the enemy. It successfully inserted Delta Force right at the designated building, then lifted off and entered a holding pattern. But things didn't go as smoothly for the Black Hawks. During the firefight, a rocket-propelled grenade struck Super 61. The helicopter lost control and crashed in a nearby neighborhood. At that moment, the mission changed from a capture operation to a rescue mission. A nearby little bird rushed to support. Unlike the wide-open scenes shown in the movie, the actual crash site was cramped and chaotic. According to the pilot, as he brought the little bird down, there was less than 1 meter of clearance on each side. The streets in Mogadishu were mostly dirt roads, surrounded by compounds with high walls, making them extremely narrow. We probably had about 3 feet of space. Only the little bird, no other aircraft, was capable of conducting this rescue. They successfully extracted the 2 surviving soldiers and returned them to base. For the little bird, it was a brilliant performance. As we know, the situation worsened. Another Black Hawk was shot down. Ground troops became trapped, already outnumbered. Us forces were now in even greater peril. By nightfall, they still hadn't escaped the danger zone. To rescue the stranded soldiers, coalition armored vehicles were deployed, supported by tanks and 4 little birds for air cover. But these weren't standard little birds. They were gunships armed to the teeth. Compared to the MH-6, the seats were removed to make room for ammo. Equipped with dual 762mm machine guns or optionally 127mm cannons, and dual rocket pods for Hydra or Hellfire rockets. These little birds could operate at night and deliver precise, close air support. Their designation AS-6. That night, the 4 AS-6S fired over 780,000 rounds and hundreds of rockets, supporting an operation that lasted through the night. They held off Somali militias and helped us troops withdraw safely, bringing an end to the nightmare mission. The operation was a disaster for us forces. 19 killed, 1 captured, over 70 wounded, 2 helicopters shot down, 3 damaged, several trucks and Humvees destroyed. It was the most devastating US military loss since the Vietnam War. An indelible scar for the Black Hawk. But for the little bird, this was an overwhelming success. A mission that showcased all its strengths: agility, speed, and precision lethality. It could handle any role. All 8 little bird pilots were awarded the Silver Star for their heroism. The AS-6 and MH-6 combo became the go-to choice for special operations, not just in Somalia. This dynamic duo would go on to serve worldwide. They also performed brilliantly in other battlefields. In 1983, they took part in the US invasion of Grenada. In 1989, they participated again, this time in Operation Just Cause in Panama. When the Iraq War broke out in 2003, the little birds were once again involved. Their most notable action was the Battle of Haditha Dam. This dam held great strategic value, supplying 1/3 of Iraq's electricity. It was the energy lifeline of the country. Securing the dam was of major importance to us forces. In April 2003, multiple MH-6S and AS-6S supported the Rangers in launching the assault on the dam. After hours of intense fighting, they successfully drove out Iraqi forces and secured the location. The little bird has been in service since 1966, making it 58 years in service to date. Over half a century old, yet still on the front lines. And there's no sign of it being phased out. Its role continues to evolve, from a reconnaissance trainer, to a special operations platform, to a gunship. It even has its place in the civilian sector. You could say the little bird proves. A good design doesn't need constant reinvention. As long as performance is stable, it's enough. Put old wine in a new bottle. Upgrade the avionics. Swap the engine. And this airframe could remain in service for a century. Okay, that's all for the little bird. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If we hit 20,000 likes, we'll continue with our helicopter series. See you in the next video.